tough loss back to back. Colorado's not looking good at all, man. They got West Virginia coming up. You got Arizona State and then Kansas State here.
Who just beat Willie Fritz in Houston. So
right. I mean, what's your overview on just the state of Colorado? And Coach Prime, like, should he be nervous at all for his seat, or is he pretty?
No,
pretty
I mean, his seat ain't hot at all, man. They gave him a 5-year deal and they're paying him $10 million a year. You know, like here's the thing that I would say, like, obviously, first and foremost, I hope he's healthy and everything, because he missed the entire offseason. And so when you miss the offseason and you miss spring and you miss a lot of summer, like, it's tough to build your culture the right way, right? Because you're not there. You're not around your players. You're not seeing them every day. And culture matters in college football. But I do believe it goes back to my previous point that in year 3, you should be ascending as a program. You shouldn't be regressing as a program in year 3. Year 1, you're trying to be competitive, right? You're taking over a program. You took over a program that was probably one of the worst in Division I college football when Deion got there. And he was competitive right away. They didn't win all the games, but he was like 4-8 in year 1, right? They were in games. They had Shador, they had Travis, they had these young players that were in the program and they were playing at a high clip. Year 2, he comes back. They get better, right? They go 9-4. Obviously didn't play well in the bowl game, but here's the problem. I think they were living too much in the portal, not signing enough good high school talent and getting them on campus and getting them in your weight program, getting them around your coaches, and get them ingrained in the culture that you want to build. And so now when Shador leaves, Travis leaves, they lose some really good pieces around them. Now in year 3, you try to go back in the portal. Well, you can't replace those guys. You've got to have guys that you've been developing within your program that have been getting reps already in practice, and now it's their turn as a redshirt sophomore. Yeah. I haven't seen that. That's why they've regressed. And it doesn't look good. I watched the last part of the Arizona game. I watched the Utah game. They're not playing good football offensively. Defensively, they can't stop the run. Offensively, they can't generate, explosive plays. They're getting a lot of penalties right now. Looks like, they're undisciplined, but I'm a buff, man. I love CU. I bleed black and gold, man. It's tough to see what's going on right now, but he's not on the hot seat, Smitty, unless he just doesn't want to do it anymore. That's obviously something that he's going to have to determine, but man, I'm hoping they can get it turned around.
Before you leave, Shaun King, let's bring Shaun in real quick. I got to ask you, Chev, personally, as Shaun enters from probably some bougie cigar lounge somewhere in Vegas, let me ask you something. Has he shown his inexperience in hiring a staff? That's my biggest takeaway. Number one, we're only as good as our assistants. You know that, and I know that, and I don't believe a lot of people realize we're only as good as our assistants. We get the glamour and we get the blame, and when we sit in this chair. But at the end of the day, those guys do the shit that we can't do every day. We got to deal with a million moving parts. Those guys you got to manage your room. You got to make sure your guys are graduating and going to class. And you got to make sure these guys are taught up and coached up. And we got to make sure the lack of experience from the staff in totality, just because they played and they were Warren Saps and Marshall Faulks and legends, doesn't mean they can coach worth the shit. And I think it's hurt them not only in recruiting, but on the field. Like, let's look at their defense. Like, I'm watching the run fits, and I'm watching just unsound football. The 5 technique spiking. There's no spiller, and I'm just watching football like leverage and no edge on their defense. And I'm like, this is a bad look for overall coaching in this, in my opinion, and a little alone all the stuff you mentioned in recruiting. Is the experience and hiring a bigger problem than people are bringing up?
Yeah, no question. I think the problem they're having, it goes back to the fact that they have not recruited at a very, very high level and developed players. And because they got the same coordinators from last year's team, right? They went 9-4 last year, and they were that close to winning the Big 12. That close. If they beat Kansas, they go to the Big 12 championship game, and they lost that game last year. So it's the same staff. Here's the problem: you haven't recruited well enough. And you do have a bunch of inexperienced assistants besides the coordinators. Like Pat Shurmur has coached more games than probably everybody on that staff. And then the defensive coordinator is an NFL guy that did a good job last year. But the other assistants, I think to your point, JB, he probably hired too many of his friends, and that's going to get you in trouble.
Let me ask you, while you're on that point, before Shaun chimes in, before you get out of here, I know you got to go. I appreciate you, as always. Sean Lewis is forced out, and our good friend Darrin Hagen is there with them, and they're rolling. San Diego State, like Sean Lewis is, in my opinion, is in the mix for one of the best jobs in college football this year. He's winning in San Diego State, and he was forced out to leave there because he wanted to run some things that he did at other places that we know. He wanted to run outside zone, pin and pull, run RPO off that. Couldn't do it at Colorado. He was forced to do some things for whatever you want to bring up. Is that a worse look on Deion losing Sean Lewis to being 7-1 at San Diego State? Or is it more of an indictment on, I don't know, Deion?
I think honestly, looking at it, I think Sean Lewis ran an offense that wasn't a spread offense, right? Came from Kent State, right? Where he had proven. Sean Lewis is a good football coach. He's won a lot of games, and he built programs. He built Kent State up to be a respectable program. And I think what happened was when he brought Shaun in, he wanted him to run that spread up-tempo offense. Well, Shedeur was getting hit a little bit, and things weren't meshing with maybe Shaun and maybe Shedeur. And so he went with a veteran guy in Pat Shermer to take over the offense to probably protect Shedeur a little bit more and get him more NFL ready to run a pro-style system, because Shaun was running a college system. But to me, Sean Lewis is a proven coach, man. I mean, that's why he's doing what he's doing at San Diego State. They weren't very good in year one, but he's building the program, right? Year two, they're much, much better. I think they're one of the top teams, right, in the Mountain West. And
I think they're a top 3 defensive team. They're a top 3 defensive team in the country, though.
And defense wins championships. Offense wins games, man. I'm an offensive guy. I love offensive football. But to win at a high clip, you got to play great defense. You got to stop the run, man. You got to stop the run.
What's your take, Sean, before Chev leaves on this Colorado debacle? 104 to whatever in the last 2 weeks. Where are you at with this?
Well, it was always going to happen because of the approach he took from the beginning. You have to understand the environment you're walking into. And when you're at a University of Colorado, the lifeblood of that program is going to be people with ties to that university, whether it be your high school recruitment, whether it be your legacy players, whether it be people attached to people that are passionate about Colorado. So when you walk in a room full of unknowns and say, basically, I don't want any of y'all, I'm bringing Louis luggage. Louis luggage is not that expensive when you buy it once, but when you got to buy it again and again and again, it get pretty expensive. And, I think not only Deion, but a lot of these programs are finding out when you chose the NIL path as opposed to the tried and true recruit high school, develop players path, all these guys getting fired. Like, look how many openings there are right now in college football. And then look at how their roster makeup is. It worked in Indiana, but what people forget is the majority of those kids came from JMU with Cignetti. So he was bringing known commodities into his program. And now these guys are finding out, man, hey, man, these kids are getting paid now. They're not beholden to you because you didn't get and it's hard to control them. And when you can't control them, it's hard to create discipline.